Hey everybody, it's Tony Sweet from Truth Be Told. We have another great show for you. This is, again, we are coming up on the Conscious Life Expo this weekend, and we have been bringing you some of the top speakers and people from all over the world, but this one's a local one, and I'm excited to have him in studio. His name is, and I'm going to get it right, I promise, Samuel Kiwasz. Kiwasz. You have to add that little flavor to it. He is a teacher, entrepreneur, community synergist who has taught sacred geometry workshops for nearly 20 years. He has also created an extensive email list called the Sacred Friends Community. Maybe you guys can join that. I know he'd love to have you. And he enjoys sharing information on a daily basis about uplifting teachers and events that help people to arrive to their next levels of spiritual development. So please welcome to Truth Be Told, we have Samuel Kiwasz. Oh, there we go. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, get close to that mic so make sure everybody can hear you there. Okay, so we have this Conscious Life Expo. I love going. Unfortunately, this year I can't make it because I have to go out of town, but Captain Ron's going to be there. But your workshop tomorrow is Sacred Geometry and Ancient Wisdom for Modern Living. Yes. Well, first of all, I'm just going to go to this average boy from Kansas. What is sacred geometry anyway, first of all? And then we're going to go ahead and just dive right into all your experience.
Sacred geometry is a way of explaining the oneness of creation. And it comes from, it's the divine intelligence expressing itself over and over again. It repeats through all of manifestation, whether it's the planets revolving around each other, right, whether it's the way our bodies are formed, the way plants grow. Everything in creation is connected to sacred geometry. There's an interweaving, it's a patterning, it's a way of helping people realizing that there is an intelligence behind it all, and it's a mathematical formula that repeats over and over and over again.
So how old do you think this is? I mean, when's looking back in ancient civilizations, when was the first that you saw this used? Or
it's found on many ancient structures, pyramids, different monoliths. The oldest connection that I have is Akhenaten and Nefertiti, the Egyptian mystery schools.
Been a while ago, yeah.
And they had a way of explaining the creation of the universe through sacred geometry. And there's a juxtaposed correlation with the Genesis in the Bible.
Oh, really?
It all ties in.
So looking back and seeing that our ancestors have been using this for thousands of years, how do we use this in the modern world? And because, you know, it's changed, but there's a lot of similarities too. But how do we still use this today?
Once we realize that we're part of this fabric, this intelligence, this weaving of interconnectedness, that when we make a change, it affects the entire universe. First of all, it gives us a lot of responsibility.
Right.
And it makes us realize how important we are. And when we shift, the entire universe shifts. And we start to respect our capacity as a being. And also, what ultimately it does is it helps us to realize the stranger is actually our friend. Mm-hmm. We just haven't realized it yet. And we expand to include it. And as we grow, as we become one with all that is, as we become more godlike, then we act more godlike, which means we realize that we come from service. Just like the flower gives off its fragrance, regardless of who passes by,
right.
We become a divine entity. We see the sacredness in all life. And there's a mathematical formula that backs it up.
Right.
So people who are blocked, people who don't believe in spirit, don't believe in an understanding that there's a real rhyme and reason, that it's not just happenstance, the creation, it opens them up because they can see it mathematically.
And so let's put it to the people that aren't great with mathematics. how do we? Because I know it says it could assist in improving our health, our life, home, work life. How does one, let's say, that is not a genius and not advanced in the school system? How do we use this and being able to understand it better?
I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of kids are turned off to math. They've had some kind of, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, I
They've
was
had
one of them.
some kind of traumatic experience. And when I got a job teaching 6th grade math science inner city in the LA Unified School District, I approached that by creating original curriculum called Geometric Drawing, the Math Art Connection, where I taught a very basic understanding of the geometric forms, the circles, the squares, the triangles,
Right.
how they all tie in. And I taught the students to work with them until they ultimately could create their own sacred design, their own mandala. And it's a way for them to go to connect with the inside of what they're really feeling and express it on paper. That's one level. I also taught it to math teachers, sometimes as many as 100 at a time,
Right.
with the full metaphysical aspect of it. And I was able to break through a lot of barriers, and I got them involved in doing their sacred designs, and they didn't want to leave. When it was over, they just
Really?
wanted to stay.
So
I reawakened their creativity.
right, but how did you? First of all, how did you get it approved to teach in a system that's pretty much been standard teachings and not creative?
In the classroom, I didn't teach the metaphysics.
Okay,
I just
got
taught it to the adult math teachers.
Right.
A lot of them were shut down to their creativity, and some of them would come up to me afterward and say, "Thank you, you reawakened my creativity, which has been dormant for so long." So my title, Geometric Drawing, the Math Art Connection, is what I used for the first 10 years. And it was a very nice situation. They would invite all the teachers, fill up the room, pay me $40 an hour. I didn't have to do any marketing, and I could teach my seminar. Right. Well, after 10 years, I decided to test the system. And I changed the title of my workshop from Geometric Drawing, the Math Art Connection, to Sacred Geometry, the Math Art Connection. And guess what happened?
I'm open to guess, but I'll let you go ahead and tell me.
I got uninvited to the math,
Did you really?
California Math Conference.
That's where I was getting to.
And I did that on purpose to force me to go public because I had a very nice situation.
Right.
And this pushed me to start, after 10 years of teaching it in the school system, I went public and started doing it as a PowerPoint presentation in the general public.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So did you see a huge difference in how it was received, students versus the adults? Were the students more open to hearing because I know you said you brought it into the school system.
But I was teaching them mainly about circles and squares and triangles and geometric constructions, and it engaged the kids that were like the bad kids or the hyperkinetic kids.
Right.
They did the best at this,
Really?
and they would finish early, like the gangster type.
And like
They would
the straight A ones were
and then
having
they go
an
around
issue.
and help the other kids.
How about the ones that were more of the straight A 100%ers? Did they have more of an issue because the mentality of the way they were taught or the way they learn?
Some of them had it varied from student to student.
Right.
Some of them did, but I noticed the very hyperactive ones are the ones that really got drawn to it in a big way, and all the kids loved it.
Yeah. See, I was diagnosed with ADD, early on, and back then I thought it was a disability. Where now I know it's just a different way of thinking and more creativity. So I think, is that what you're saying? More the creative side of the brain was understanding it.
Yes, what I did was I used music and video to open up the creativity.
Yeah.
So that when they finally got to draw their sacred design, they were fully in that mode.
Somebody in the chat room says, is it possible to decode the hidden meanings of the Bible and human nature with numbers or gematria? And I'm assuming this
yes,
is
but that's not my specialty.
Oh, okay. So how can sacred geometry decode some of the some of the way we're taught? I mean, how can we decode? How am I trying to say this? Let's go back to like the Masons, because they used a lot of the Egyptian.
Right.
Did you see a lot of sacred geometry decoding some of their coding in Washington and different symbols? Can we use that sacred geometry with decoding symbols and stuff like that?
It's being used throughout history. In ancient Egypt, they taught it in the right eye of Horus, but they used the geometry mainly for surveying.
Oh, okay.
But then, when we move over to Greece, ancient Greece, Pythagoras had a school. He's considered the father of geometry. Mm-hmm. And he got into the depth of the symbols. And then it went from there. Oh, then the Romans, when the Romans came, they got away. See, there's something called the golden mean or the golden proportion. And that's based on a ratio.
Right.
Based on the way things grow. And the closer they were going to the golden mean, like in ancient Egypt, all their art, architecture, and sculpture was based on the golden mean. It was intrinsically beautiful because it was in harmony with the natural rhythms and the natural patterning. The Romans started to pull away from that.
Wonder why that was.
They were more into militarism and aggression. They had different priorities. And I believe that part of the reason they fell was because they got away from the divine proportion. And then it wasn't until then we went into the Dark Ages, and then it wasn't until Leonardo da Vinci in the Renaissance, he brought back the divine proportion, and he based a lot of his art, sculpture,
through his art. That's when.
His inventions. He used the divine proportion, and that was the Renaissance, and it spread all through Europe.
Now, ancient or sacred geometry, geometric shapes and stuff. Is there one that's more powerful, more important than others?
Well, it depends on the school. In Pythagoras, they had a secret symbol, and it was a pentagon. And that was a very powerful symbol. And if it points up, it's more positive. And if it points down, it's more negative or demonic.
Oh, really?
So that was their sacred symbol, and they weren't allowed to reveal it. And if they did, could be killed because it was that precious. I'm wearing the Sri Yantra mandala.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up so people can see it a little bit better. Because I want to go into some of the jewelry that you help design and you're wearing. I mean, it's beautiful pieces. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the Sri Yantra goes back thousands of years in the Vedic tradition, and it means Om. It's the creation energy of the universe. So many people think that the Sri Yantra is the most powerful symbol, but different people resonate to different patterns. I have about 65 different patterns.
Wow.
And they all have their own sacred meanings. It's sort of like an interfaith, spiritual interfaith, where I represent many, many different traditions, religions, spiritual understandings throughout the world. And it's like you're drawn to what you need. And then the backs have 5 different gemstones: black tourmaline, lapis, turquoise, malachite, and red coral. And each of those gemstones have their own properties, healing properties. Yeah. So it's a combination. And when we get them handmade from India, my wife, who's been working with Pauline, she's been working with gemstones and crystals for about 40 years. She energetically charges them up under a lot of energy grids and a crystal skull. And this crystal skull, she downloaded all of the world-famous crystal skulls information at the 11-11-11 conference. So we're downloading all the wisdom of the ages carried by those pieces into our pendants. And they're programmed that the right pendant go to the right person, and for all kinds of properties to help lift people up, help them have balance their chakras, their different bodies. And it's pretty amazing because people who are into healing and are sensitive, they come by our booth and they go,
they feel
they're all excited.
They feel the energy. And so how do we know, other than just a feeling, how do we know what's going to be, what symbol is best for us? I mean, because, like there's Sagittarius, do we go by I
don't do the astrology thing.
But I'm just saying, do we know what pendants are best for us, or is it just the way we feel about the pendants?
I think it's mostly an intuition.
Yeah.
You can run your hands over the pendants and
See what
you sort of
feels better.
feel something popping out at you. My wife says the pendants, you don't choose the pendants, the
The
pendants
pins
choose you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Harry Potter and the wand.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a couple people in the chat room. Let's see what they have to say.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. Yeah, no. If we don't know, we don't know. This one kind of goes there, but it says, have Satanists stolen the hieroglyphs of the ancient Egypt? You may not know that. Or if you want to answer, that's great. Or has there always been a darker meaning behind the symbols of history? Especially like what you're talking about with sacred geometry. When you said the pentagon.
Yes.
So is there other diagrams and symbols that can mean both?
I'm not an expert on Satanism.
Right.
However,
me either.
any symbol can be used, anything can be used for good or for evil.
Right.
It's always a choice. And I imagine a lot of symbols have been used for unworthy causes.
Right.
And my nature is I tend to focus on the positive aspects.
Right.
And
Which makes
if
sense.
we envelop ourselves in all the negativity, then
It can
our
over-
consciousness goes there and can take over. So I'd rather not focus on that. I'd rather focus on helping people to lift up their vibrational
Amen to
field.
that. So tomorrow when you bring your wisdom and your experience to your workshop, what is the main focus? What is going to be the main focus for your audience tomorrow?
The main focus is for people to get a basic understanding of the oneness of creation through sacred geometry. I have 275 slides in my PowerPoint, and they will get it on many different levels. And ultimately, my desire, my intention is that they get it in such a strong way that they feel it and they take that feeling with them, because it's always there. In the blink of an eye, we can shift into the oneness consciousness. My first spiritual teacher back in 1971, he taught us, when you walk out in the world, act as if God is looking through your eyes. And I practiced that.
Yeah.
And at the time, in my 20s, I was going through a lot of emotional challenges. A lot of people.
I was going to say
Yeah.
most 20-year-olds.
And when I would practice that exercise, I was on UCLA campus. I was a junior at UCLA.
Right.
I would flip from my disturbed ego self to my big I, from little I to the big I, and I would feel this connectedness, this interrelatedness, that we're all one, and it would be very blissful. It would last for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I flipped back into my ego. And I did that back and forth for about 3 years till I was able to start to integrate the two feelings. So from the workshop, they get a general overview of it's actually like a beginner's course, but any level person could appreciate it.
Right.
But it will help you with some of your problems with math. You know, like, I can't do this. This is math. I break it down really simple, and I get people to understand that everything in creation is connected. We are all one, and I have beautiful pictures to support that.
Right.
And the mathematical principles to support that on another level too.
I mean, for me to say to make math fun and
is.
understanding is a big accomplishment. And so congratulations on that, because a lot of, like you said, a lot of people are scared of it. And, geometry, I mean, again, I don't know why people are so fearful of it, but why do you think people are so fearful of that?
I'll give you an example from my life.
Yeah.
I was taking Geometry 2. I was between a C and a D,
Right.
and I was very bad at the constructions. Not the opposite. I was very bad at the proofs.
Right.
My mind wouldn't go there. But on the geometric constructions, I had this superb ability. And I was between a C and a D, and as it so happens, the teacher on the final exam only gave us constructions. So I got a 92%,
Look at you.
which only one other person in the class got that number.
Wow.
And she accused me of cheating. And ultimately, she had to give me the C.
Oh,
instead of the D.
right.
But parts of math didn't work for me. The proofs also in calculus. I went through the first semester, it was hard. Second semester, it was so hard that I dropped out. Otherwise, I would have become a higher math teacher.
Right.
But I do better with the simple stuff. I love geometry. Even I got a D in Geometry 4 and still loved it. So I tend to break things down to their simplest nature. And that's what I do with my workshop. I keep it simple. And I believe that the higher we go up in the spiritual ladder, the more simple it needs to get.
Oh, wow.
The closer we get to God.
And so I'm thinking we talked about Egypt and even the Roman time. Is there a particular country today? And I know because even your pendants, or you say you work with a family in India.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that family. But,
good.
But do you think what countries seem to be more embracing sacred geometry today versus some of the other countries that sticking to their modern mathematics?
I happen to know that Bulgaria in Eastern Europe has a very strong spiritual component.
Huh.
There was a teacher, Peter Donov, and he was the teacher of Omram Mikhail Avenov,
Right.
who was a fantastic writer, and he has a spiritual community in the French Riviera called Buffon. He's no longer alive, but he would say the same things I learned before because I've been in metaphysics since 71.
Right.
But he'd say it in a way that was totally fresh and new and exciting.
So tell us about the family you working with in India.
Yes, they sought me out. I was looking for something to represent sacred geometry because I was doing it for like 10 years. Right. And I searched and I searched and I finally found something I liked. And I ordered a Sri Yantra from someone in Australia.
Right.
I started wearing it around town in LA, and people were stopping me in the street and saying, "Where can I get one?"
Wow. Okay.
So a light went up in my head, and I started buying them wholesale from Australia. And I set up a website, and then the people in India, they were looking to expand their business. They were the ones making them. So they contacted me. And they made me a great offer I couldn't refuse.
Right.
And they started making them for me. And what was your question again?
No, I was just saying, how did you get connected with the family?
So we've been working together for 10 years.
That's a long time.
Sometimes I pay them in advance. Sometimes I owe them money.
Right.
It's a trust thing.
Right.
And 3 years ago, I went and actually visited them.
Oh, wow. How was that?
I fell in love with the kids. They were wonderful.
Oh,
and they treated me like royalty. They lived
you are. Come on
Thank you.
Now.
They lived in a very simple house in a very poor neighborhood. And yet they took me out to the nicest restaurants.
Wow.
Yeah,
nice.
it was pretty amazing. In fact, the kids might be visiting in June here.
Coming back to see you. Have they ever been here before?
No.
Oh,
no.
that would be, that's going to be a
trip
for them.
So Ishu is like 21 and Ritik is about 17.
Right.
And they're beautiful human beings, spiritually evolved, and I can't say enough about them. And the family decided, I've been selling these pendants all over the country, all over the world actually, and with the money they've made from making them for me, it's risen their economic level, and they opened up an NGO, a nonprofit organization, and they came up with the idea. There's a big problem in poverty with Indian girls when they start to have their menstruation. They didn't have anything. They weren't using anything for the blood.
Right.
And so some would use nothing. Some would use newspaper.
Oh my gosh.
So my family in India that makes the pendants, they were able to pass out like 5,000 codexes. Find a need and solve it. And it's very exciting. In fact, on my website, sacredpendants.com, is a thorough explanation of the family and what they've done to help their community. And it's very satisfying that I can make money and they can make money and we can all grow together. And we have a happy medium.
How great is that?
Yeah.
That is great. Well, everybody, you need to get off your butts, get your tickets, Go see him tomorrow from 6 to 6 or 7:30.
6 to 7:30.
Yeah, 6 to 7:30 at the LAX Hilton for Conscious Life Expo, Sacred Geometry, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Living. And, thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
And thank you for being a part of this community and making a difference. Because, again, like we talked earlier, it's raising our energy vibrations to, and then it starts affecting other people in a positive way. So,
And just to say something.
yeah, please.
I send out email blasts on a regular basis
yeah.
about consciousness and health and speakers and healers and anything that I feel is life positive, because I want to help people grow to their next level, whatever that is for them.
Right.
And so I built this email list, and it's wonderful. People stop me and thank me for doing this, and it's Sacred Friends Community. And if you want to sign up, it's sacredfriends.org, and you just sign up on the upper right-hand corner. And if you like it, then you'll keep getting the emails.
Perfect. Well, people like to be part of a community.
Yes.
And then,
Yes.
in like mine. So, well, thank you so much, Samuel, for being here. We
Thanks
really
for having
appreciate you. Go to his websites, sacredfriends.org or sacredpendants.com, and pick up a cup pendant or two and for yourself and your friends and family.
We call it the gift that keeps on giving.
Right? It's
Literally.
true. It is
Literally.
true. All right. Well, for Captain Ron and Tony Sweet, for Truth Be Told, we appreciate you always. And please check out our website, truthbetoldworldwide.com, and subscribe right below. And check out our videos and upcoming amazing guests every week right here on Truth Be Told. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.